Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Welcome to this initiative where we are discussing practice questions for the mains exam. If you are planning for 2024 as your mains attempt, which means you're very sure that you'll be clearing prelims and your preparation is very much on the track, and this is a series that you should not be missing out on. Before you continue with this video, I want you to watch the first video in this particular playlist where I have discussed what should be the introduction to the mains question, how should you be writing the introduction, body and the conclusion. Okay, so if this is clear, we'll begin with the first question for today in this particular video. So let's start. What does the first question says? The first question is about something called as micro irrigation. You can see here, the question says, how and to what extent would micro irrigation help in solving India's water crisis? Okay, 150 words, a simple, straightforward 10-mark question about the water management techniques that could be asked in the GS paper 3. See, this becomes important in two aspects. One is that it is normal. One thing is that about the economy, and under economy you have agriculture, and micro irrigation is a very integral part of the agriculture, so this becomes important with respect to agriculture. Second more important thing where this becomes very important is in the environment point of view. Why environment? Because water is a non-renewable resource, and if the water get extinct, then it becomes really difficult for a human race to survive on this particular planet. So if that is to be taken care of, then micro irrigation techniques is something that can help us, correct? And because the question talks about solving India's water crisis, we will totally depend, mostly 80% of our answer will depend on economy and the remaining 20% on the environment. Okay, that is clear. First, let's talk about the micro irrigation advantages, the advantages of the micro irrigation. Before that, let's talk about what is this micro irrigation. What is micro irrigation? The micro irrigation is a technique which is very much targeted and which uses very minimal water, like for example drip irrigation. If you have looked at how the drip irrigation mechanism works, the water flows drip by drip, targeted towards the stem or the roots of the plant. You will not have water wastage happening. So because of such targeted intervention, that is why drip irrigation system is very effective, and drip irrigation system is considered to be highly efficient with respect to the water usage. Okay, that is the most important thing about drip irrigation. Second, electricity consumption. Electricity consumption considerably falls if we are implementing micro irrigation mechanisms. The localized water application in the micro irrigation prevents fertilizers from washing away. Just imagine two scenarios where the water is just flown into the crop field. If the water is just flown, the fertilizers that have been applied will all just get washed away. If the fertilizers are getting washed away, plants are not getting enough nutrients. This is one reason. Second reason that happens, if this fertilized water which has fertilizers in it, if this water ends up in the local water source, let's say a pond, okay, then it causes something called as eutrophication. The it also causes water or soil erosion, and it also causes eutrophication. What is eutrophication? It's a process where the nutrients in the water gets increased, and this will give rise to algal blooms. Okay, so these are some of the disadvantages that we have with the conventional source of irrigation or conventional type of irrigation over micro irrigation techniques. Avoids soil erosion. Okay, I've told you how this avoid soil erosion also. So these are four important advantages that we have with respect to micro irrigation. Now, what are the challenges? If these are the advantages, then why has not. Why don't the Indian farmers have adopted it in a very large scale? Why do we have micro irrigation techniques being adopted by farmers in a very small scale? Why? The first thing is that the cost is very high. The initial cost is very expensive. Because the initial cost is very expensive, farmers are very much reluctant in adopting these methods. Okay. Second, maintenance cost is also very high, because we will have the equipment like tubes, sprinklers. So if these equipments are not maintained in a proper way for a particular time period, let's say every 2 months you'll have to get it serviced, or every 6 months you'll have to get it serviced, and if you don't do it, then the tubes and the sprinklers will stop functioning, and this will cause an extra cost on the farmer. The lifetime of the tubes used in drip irrigation can be shortened by the sun causing wastage. For example, heat. For example, a lot of heat and also the weather externalities. These might degrade the lifespan of the tubes that are used for the drip irrigation mechanism. So these are some of the limitations of using drip irrigation system. Very important. We discussed about the advantages, and we also discussed about the limitations of drip irrigation system. Okay, so this is about the micro irrigation technique, specifically drip irrigation system, its advantages and its limitations. Okay, now let's begin with the second question for the day. Distinguish between capital budget and the revenue budget. Explain the components of both these budgets. Okay, direct question for a 10 marker from the economy static, which talks about capital budget and the revenue budget. Correct. So before we get into what is capital budget, what is revenue budget, let's look about what are the objectives of budget and what is budget. Okay, see, budget forms a very important part of fiscal policy. Now you might ask, sir, what is this fiscal policy? Fiscal policy are the tools that are available with the government, so that government can control inflation, at the same time regulate growth. So these are the twin objectives of the fiscal policy. One is controlling inflation, second is boosting economic growth. So that is our fiscal policy, and in order to contain inflation and boost economic growth, the most important tool that the government has is nothing but the budget. Okay, now what does the budget do? Reallocation of resources. Okay, this is the main important function of fiscal policy, where the government decides where the resources should be allocated. Reallocation of resources, reducing inequalities in the income and wealth. See, budget is a process where it ensures fiscal or the financial equality, and the aim of the budget is to reduce the income inequality. So the budget during the budget, in the form of taxes, the government takes money from the rich and gives it to the poor, and this is the second important objective of the budget: reduction in the inequality. Third one, contributing to the economic growth. Budget and the budgetary allocations will for sure contribute to the economic growth, bringing economic stability and managing public enterprises like PSUs. Public enterprises, we're talking about PSUs, public sector utilities, okay, or public sector firms, as we can call it, is BSNL, LIC, BPCL, IOC, ONGC. These are some of the public enterprises. Now, if you talk about revenue account and the capital account, okay, we will differentiate between into revenue account and the capital account. The first and the main important difference between the revenue account and the capital account is that revenue account is recurring in nature, whereas capital account is non-recurring in nature. Recurring in the sense the revenue payment and the revenue receipt will keep coming at a very regular period. 1 month, like for example, salaries and pensions are a part of the revenue expenditure, and salaries and the pension has to be paid monthly, every month. It's a recurring in nature. Second, the revenue account payments are short term, whereas capital account, they are long term. Third, revenue account do not create or reduce the liability. Revenue account is not creating any asset is not reducing the liability, whereas the capital account creates asset or increases or reduces liabilities. These are some of the important features of the revenue account and the capital account. And you can have it is recurring in nature. Revenue account is short term. Revenue account can create or reduce the liability, whereas the capital account, we don't have these measures coming into picture. Okay, so this is about the revenue account and the capital account. Very, very important from the exam point of view. Okay, so we've come to the end of the video. If you like the video, hit the like button and also subscribe to Legacy IAS Academy for more such interesting content. Have a nice day.